Imagine spending a lifetime searching for something that always seems to slip through your fingers. We are conditioned to believe that success, recognition, and material achievements are the elements that will bring peace and happiness. But how often do we reach these goals only to find that the emptiness persists? This is a common cycle, chasing a desire that always seems just out of reach, leaving us trapped in an endless pursuit of something greater, something that can truly fill us. What if the answer to this deep longing wasn't found in external achievements but rather in an inner connection that many of us have yet to explore? Instead of accumulating trophies and status, the real purpose might be to uncover a treasure that lies within. Ancient wisdom, present in sacred texts like the Bible, suggests just that, a path of inner transformation that challenges traditional notions and promises a fulfillment that doesn't depend on the world around us. In this video, we will unveil layers of this profound, timeless wisdom, exploring the possibility that what we seek outside is, in fact, within us. It's a dive into a perspective that transcends religions, guiding us on a journey to understand who we truly are. After all, what if everything we need to live a full life is already inside us, just waiting to be discovered? From an early age, we learn to look outside ourselves for fulfillment. Society teaches us to pursue goals, accumulate possessions, and reach positions of distinction, as if happiness were hidden behind each of these achievements. This idea that complete satisfaction depends on something external creates a powerful illusion. Yet once we attain these goals, it's common to realize that the emptiness remains, or that new goals soon appear, keeping us in a relentless and exhausting quest. This cycle of unfulfilled expectations is not by chance. It's sustained by a system that keeps us busy and distracted, making us believe that wholeness is always just a bit out of reach. We spend life in constant motion, completing tasks and fulfilling roles, but we rarely stop to question if it truly brings us happiness. The tendency to value doing over being distances us from something fundamental, our own essence. Many spiritual texts, such as the Bible, speak about this disconnection. They point to a wisdom that invites us to look within and warn us of the trap of seeking peace outside ourselves. When Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you," he was indicating a profound truth that is often ignored. This message challenges the belief that fulfillment comes from the external world and suggests that we need to find this peace and fullness within ourselves. This perspective leads us to a question. What if true happiness is not tied to what we achieve, but to a state of consciousness we already possess and only need to recognize? Perhaps the emptiness we feel is, in fact, a call to this inner discovery, an invitation to stop searching outside for what already resides within. After all, the peace we seek is natural and can only be found when we stop clinging to external expectations and begin to value silence and the connection with our own being. In this way, instead of getting lost in the endless cycle of always wanting more, we can allow ourselves a path of introspection. On this path, we learn that what truly matters is the understanding that nothing outside of us has the power to fill our internal void. Lasting satisfaction only arises when we find an inner balance, something the external world can never offer us. For many, the Bible is seen as a set of religious rules or a collection of moral stories. However, when explored from a new perspective, it reveals itself as a profound spiritual map, capable of guiding those who seek a deeper understanding of themselves and life. More than a book of doctrines, the Bible carries symbolic teachings that, when interpreted with a spiritual lens, lead us to authentic inner transformation. One of the fundamental concepts that the Bible presents to us is the idea of ascension, an elevation of consciousness that goes beyond the literal sense. Biblical texts often point to a process of self-discovery that begins when we abandon superficial interpretations and open ourselves to symbolic messages. Ascension is nothing more than the path of returning to our true self, to the center of our essence, where peace and connection with the divine dwell. It is a journey that leads us from the material world to a space of self-knowledge and spiritual expansion. When Jesus teaches that the kingdom of God is within you, he offers a crucial hint for this inner journey. The kingdom of God is not a distant place or something we can achieve through external merits. Instead, it is a state of consciousness that resides in each of us, accessible to those who choose to look within. According to Jesus, this kingdom does not depend on temples or institutions, but on a genuine connection with our own divine nature. This broader view of the Bible allows us to understand stories and parables as teachings that reflect our own journey of transformation. Biblical characters and events begin to represent aspects of our psyche and spiritual challenges that we encounter along the way. For example, the concept of Christ ceases to be just a historical name and comes to symbolize a higher consciousness that each of us can awaken. The Christ consciousness in this sense is a way of accessing the wisdom and love that are already present within us, but often remain hidden due to the distractions and illusions of the world. The Bible then becomes more than a theological text. It transforms into a manual of self-knowledge and spiritual elevation. By understanding its messages as symbols representing our own journey, we can use it to reach a deeper connection with our essence. Thus, it guides us to an understanding that true spiritual ascension does not occur outside, but within each of us, through the personal journey of transformation and reconnection with the divine that dwells within. When we think of Christ, it is common for the image of a distant divine master to come to mind, someone who achieved an elevation that few can imagine. However, by interpreting the concept of Christ in a broader sense, we realize that it represents not only a historical figure, but a state of consciousness available to all of us. This concept, known as Christ consciousness, invites us to transcend the limitations of our human nature, allowing our divine essence to manifest fully. William Donahue, known for his symbolic interpretations of the Bible, proposes that Christ is not merely an exalted being, but a presence that we can all cultivate internally. For him, each of us carries this divine spark, and awakening this higher consciousness is what transforms our lives into an authentic expression of love, wisdom, and purpose. Christ, then, is not something external to be worshipped, but an internal potential waiting to be awakened. The origin of the term Christ derives from Christus or Christos, meaning anointed or consecrated. This title carries within it the idea of an ideal truth, a divine perfection that descends to us to transform what is imperfect in our nature. When we look at the word incarnate, we understand that it refers to the manifestation of the divine in human form, bringing the sacred into the earthly plane. Christ's role, then, is to remind us that we all have this capacity to manifest the divine, overcoming our most primitive and limited impulses and allowing our true nature to express itself. When examining the words of Jesus, we find teachings that reinforce this vision of personal transformation. He said that the kingdom is within us, and that we must seek this inner connection, for it is there that we will find the true treasure. By focusing on the single eye and seeking unity of thought and intention, distancing ourselves from the distractions of the world, we enter a higher state of perception where the divine can manifest freely. This practice teaches us to separate what is temporary from what is eternal, directing our attention to what truly matters. Following the teachings of Jesus from this perspective is to embark on a journey of self-discovery that requires courage and surrender. When he speaks of entering through the narrow path, he is not referring to imposed restrictions, but to the effort required to transcend the ego and connect with a larger dimension of oneself. By elevating our consciousness and overcoming our limitations, we access a state of fullness, peace, and freedom from the bonds that the external world imposes on us. In this way, Christ becomes a model of transformation, a living example of what we can achieve when we turn to the divine that exists within each of us. Christ consciousness, when manifested in our lives, leads us to a new understanding where love and wisdom become the foundations of all our actions. It is through this process of awakening that we find true freedom, not that granted by the world, but one that arises from our own connection with the eternal. Genuine freedom arises when we free ourselves from identification with the material world and transcend external distractions. Society, with its norms and institutions, often binds us to a limited vision of who we are, reinforcing the idea that we are merely our desires and instincts. By focusing on achievements and material aspects, we stray from our true spiritual purpose. Distractions like social media, entertainment, and addictions keep us attached to the needs of the body and the physical plane, undermining our ability to access higher states of consciousness. To achieve profound transformation, we need to disconnect from these illusions and redirect our attention to what truly matters, the connection with the divine that resides within us. This process involves balancing the chakras, energy centers that, when harmonized, allow us an integration with our higher essence. The heart, symbolized as the center of balance between the physical and the spiritual, is the access point to this higher connection. Jesus, in teaching about love and detachment, indicated the heart as the place where duality dissolves, leading us to an integrated perception of our true nature. The act of living from the heart means cultivating alignment among the chakras and allowing Christ consciousness to manifest within us. This state awakens our divine essence, transcending any limitation imposed by the material world. In the symbolism of the cross, for example, we find the point of union between the spiritual and the material, the divine and the human, representing the balance and harmony we must seek within ourselves. As we free ourselves from the bonds imposed by the external world, we draw closer to our true spiritual nature. The process of ascension, or elevation of consciousness, teaches us that peace and fullness are states we achieve by setting aside ego illusions and surrendering to inner wisdom. This practice leads us to a new vision of freedom, where we are not limited by dogmas or institutions, but guided by the light that dwells in our heart. When we align our being with Christ consciousness, we find complete liberation, a peace that does not depend on external conditions. It is in this state of balance that we access the divine potential within us, allowing love, wisdom, and compassion to flow naturally, transforming our life experience and bringing harmony between the spiritual and the physical. In this way, we achieve a life of purpose and fulfillment, guided by the inner light that connects us to the eternal. In the spiritual journey, one of the greatest challenges is freeing ourselves from the bonds of the physical world and transcending the denser energies that bind us to materiality. Many spiritual traditions speak of the importance of elevating our consciousness, distancing ourselves from external distractions that consume our attention and energy. Social media, excessive entertainment, and the constant pursuit of validation keep us anchored to what is superficial, diverting us from what truly matters. The world pushes us to focus on temporary pleasures, but the pursuit of inner peace requires a conscious effort to detach from these distractions. To live a life aligned with our true self, we need to balance and harmonize our energy centers, the chakras, and connect to our spiritual essence. This balance allows our energy to flow completely and awakens our higher consciousness. The heart, the meeting point between the physical and the spiritual, is the center of transformation, where we can access a new way of living. When we live from the heart, we are in tune with a force beyond the ego, allowing love, wisdom, and compassion to become the foundation of all our actions. The Bible reminds us that the kingdom of God is within you, a powerful message about the existence of a lasting and profound peace within each of us, accessible at any moment. This inner journey leads us to a true freedom that does not depend on institutions, dogmas, or external approvals, but on a genuine connection with our divine essence. By realizing that this peace is already within us, we cease seeking outside what can only be found within. This realization marks a point of transformation. When we stop identifying with the ego and the limitations of the material world, we ascend to a new state of consciousness, where we are guided by Christ consciousness, an expression of our own divinity. In this state, we find a peace that does not waver with circumstances and that frees us from attachments and fears. Thus, this video is an invitation for you to experience this shift in perspective. Instead of looking outward, seek peace within yourself. By following this path of self-knowledge and balance, you will find true freedom, a light that does not fade. This is the awakening of the inner Christ, which transforms our life into an expression of love and harmony.